good person or a great person. And so good, focus on, I might put an equals on. Good equals focus on, it's math. Good equals focus on, welcome to philosophy and rap. Man, yeah, hold on. Good, focus on family and relationships. Oh. It won't type the whole relationship, okay. Good, great equals focus on impact, influence, large scale influence. Bro, why did it not influence? Oh, it was, okay. Maybe, okay. I'm gonna take off the focus on. Good, that's family and relationships. Great, large scale influence. Start the poll. Okay, we got the poll. Awesome. Right here. Okay. All right. So, come on. I want to push it up a little bit. I want to, when you hit the goal, I want to move down to the goal. I want to leave, but I gotta let know what you're expected to see. All right. So the poll is right there. The poll is right there. Not coincidentally, or yeah, whatever. Napoleon's name was mentioned in conversation, and I love that. Okay, so that was to get ready with me. I think we're ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Write that down. Let's go ahead and move to 1218. And remember to say do a shinto. One. And do a shinto. Alright. This was a little, it turned out to be anticlimactic. But I'm gonna work on that. For that. I'm taking this one serious. Let's take this one serious. I would use this one. I totally would use it. We gotta take this one serious. Because this is class. Welcome to class. Welcome to school, guys. This is night class. You're on time. If you're catching it live. Questo è soggetto. 1200. Dichiaro. Questo è soggetto. 1200. Dichiaro. Welcome to the University of YouTube. I'm your professor, Chief Gihareh. Today's class, no. We have a topic, but welcome to philosophy and rhetoric class. Yeah, let me do that. Welcome to philosophy and rhetoric class. Healthy discussion. So 3:45. That was it's about 5 minutes now. Okay. Let me do my intro as normal. Okay, 5:40. Welcome. Welcome to the Graffiti Jungel. Parlo lingue. Benvenuti nella giungla di graffiti. Questo è Impostore Rockstar, Fake Rockstar Chat Show. Pensieri tangentiali. Pomino Tangential Thoughts Chat Show. Shout out to my cousin Dog Evan Bailey. I got her. I'm always teaching. Now, what you decide to learn and focus on is up to you. What you decide to learn and focus on is up to you. Mille is 1,000 in Italian. Due is 2 in Italian. Cento is 100 in Italian. Diciaro is 18 in Italian. Again, mille is 1,000 in Italian. Feel free to say it along with me if you want to and like to practice learning Italian. Mille is 1,000. Due is 2 in Italian. Cento is 100 in Italian. Diciaro is 18 in Italian. 1,218 in Italian. 1,200 diciaro. 1,200 diciaro. That is 1,218 in Italian. I hope that you learned something. Everyone fire out. All right. So, welcome to the University of YouTube. I'm your professor, Chief Gihareh. I teach all subjects. But right now, we would like to have philosophy and rhetoric class. Philosophy, I'm going to come back with the etymology for those words. Because Sophie means something. The name Sophia means something. So I'm gonna jot that down, and I'll make a video just explaining philosophy. So it's the University of YouTube. I'm still learning and growing and forever being a student of life. As you said. Philosophy. My next video idea is to simply study the word philosophy and break that down a little bit. It's the intro. Welcome to philosophy class. We should break that down. What does philosophy mean? What does rhetoric mean? Rhetoric. Definition. Look at the etymology of the words. For healthy discussion, not debate. It is perfectly fine to be opinionated and to believe in your opinion, but let's not take your opinion as fact. So I'll do it. That'll be one of my next videos. Philosophy and rhetoric. Welcome to philosophy and rhetoric class. I'm your professor, Chief Gihareh. I teach all subjects. But right now we're focused on philosophy and rhetoric. The question for tonight, or whenever you see this video, came in conversation today. The question. Oh. I'll give you a little backdrop to the question, what inspired tonight's lesson and discussion. We're going to talk about that. The inspiration for it. Oh, story time. Story time. This morning, I woke up once at 6:30. The second time I woke up, I'm not sure. But I changed locations. When I changed locations, when I awoke, I saw a man in a lime green, as you say, A shirt. A T-shirt is shaped like a letter T. An A shirt is what some people refer to as a white beater, a tank top. You know what I'm saying? He looked like if he was going to the beach. He was a youth pastor. What was, Daniel? Want a burger? Want a burger? Easy name to remember. I'm talking cryptically, descriptively. So, he was I didn't meet. I had a conversation with 3 aspiring writers or authors. I gave each of them, I've had 2 of them were new. The other one I had seen, and she was like, I've been looking for you. I've been carrying my journal every day. And when I hadn't seen you, I stopped. I said, do you believe in coincidences? Because the second aspiring writer I met for the day, she said, no, I don't believe in coincidences. So when I talked to this next aspiring writer, I asked, do you believe in coincidences? And maybe the reason you saw me today was a reminder to pick back up your pen and continue writing. So, I'm not going to talk too much about the entire conversation that I had with the youth pastor. But that was the very first conversation I had today. First person I saw that talked to me. So, he asked, no, he didn't ask. He said, in conversation, he said he would rather be a good person and not a great person. That caught my attention. And sometimes when I'm talking to people, sometimes I'll be like, are they going to say anything like worthwhile or good or, I'm going to remember, I'm going to talk about. This one going through this conversation, normally the conversation after the interaction, because he gave me a grocery gift card, and normally the conversation after, like at first, I would have just talked about just the interaction, but then he said he would rather be a good person and not a great person. And I entirely understood what he meant before he tried to explain it. But I entirely understood what he meant, but it took me, I was taken aback. I was taken aback. Oh, he said he would rather be a good man and not a great man. And he said, I would rather be known for having a awesome, supportive, loving relationship with my daughter and my family, as a father, being known as a great father. Even when he's at the church, the people in his writing group was like, your voice, you're talking to your community at the church, but you could be talking to the world. And that's just not of his essence, or just is not that much of a priority to him. He doesn't particularly care. He doesn't particularly care. And then when he went on to describe greatness, he mentioned Napoleon, of all people. He mentioned Napoleon. And one of the last things I said to him was, you know how many people ever existed that we don't know even existed? You would rather be one of those people. And you would not want to be of the essence like Napoleon, like Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Kim Jong-il, Kim Il-sung, Castro, Benito Mussolini, he who shall not be named, not Lord Voldemort. You don't want to be of that. I said yin and yang. Refers to chaos and disorder. But so most people know yin and yang to refer to balance. Yeah, I said you could just balance this. You could focus on your family. Go to your son's game. Go to your daughter's piano recital, her dance recital. You could be there for your daughters. You could be there for your wife. Just as an aside, somebody says, difference between being a father and a husband. Those are two separate responsibilities. You can still do that and then come back to your people. I said, you're doing all these speeches. You could have a video for your speech. Then just let the video sit there. And you can reference it. And he's challenging himself. He's in a writer's group. He's challenging himself. And now one of his daughters is becoming like a young reader or something like that. And so he's about to make a chapter book. I was like, that's awesome. So now he's focused on world building, character development, dialogue. This is awesome. This is awesome. And I was like, but all the other stuff you got, I'm just even going through the process I told him how to publish his books. You could publish a couple books today. It's a couple clicks away. And this is how you do it for free. Just do it. And then now he did make another comment though. He was like, I'm gonna feel like I'm done with it. I'm like, no. Every time I published a book, I then ordered it. And what do you do after that? Now you can make a video for the audiobook. Who better to tell this story than you? It's not done. Because what are you doing from there? You're marketing. You're talking about your book. You see what I'm saying? It's not done after that. And even if you're having, I didn't say this part to him, but even if you're having that thought, it's, you don't know what the next idea is. Some ideas exist only for you to get to the next idea. Some ideas only exist for you to get to the next idea. So even if you're not sure about what's going to happen, what to do once you finish, once you publish that book, figure you find out. That's when you find out. You publish that book, and then it's like, well, what do I do from here? Right now, you don't know. Right now, you don't know what he was like. Because I'm gonna feel like I'm finished. No, you need to do that first, and then you find, well, what is the next task? What else do I want to do for this book? Am I ready to go ahead and write the next one and continue going? And you see, like when it comes to like books and things, I remember there was one author, because I thought I was doing something this and that, boom, boom. There was an author who has like hundreds, maybe even thousands, but I'm for sure over 100. And it's like, so trying to publish the most books ever, that's not even like of an essence or a goal. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the legacy. You see what I'm saying? There was this one guy I met. He he published one book, and that was 30 years ago. But he's reading and writing all the time. So I'm like, what are you doing with all this other stuff? He has a hope that his daughters will do something with it. And that's a big hope, brother. And I just wouldn't even think, I wouldn't entertain that thought. It's you get your roses after, or they might pick it and just throw it away or something. Those are papers and readings, and you expect them to go through all that? You expect them to go through 40 years of you writing and keep it or do something with it? What can they do? Like, are they editors? Are they writers? That's not their passion. That's not pursuit. So why don't you leave that to them? This is just conversation and just rhetoric. Maybe they do care about them. Maybe they will do this. Who knows? You leave it up to chance. So let me see. Always welcome to the channel. Welcome to Philosophy, guys. Question. Okay. So now there's another part of in conversation, right? Everyone, and there are just certain things that I just start to just start and realize, right? With great power comes great responsibility. Some people don't have the power of discernment. Some people can't read people. The second author I met, or second aspiring writer I read, the second aspiring writer I met today, she said clairvoyance. There's a couple of clair powers, specialties type of thing. Some people are clairaudient. Some people are clairvoyant. Some people are clairsentient. Some people are claircognizant. And so it's like some people hear certain things, music, conversations, reading, writing, whatever. They hear just like, and it's just like they can pick up something and apply it. Some people are claircognizant and just have this understanding about times, moments, instances, you know what I'm saying, intuitions, feelings, and things like that. Some people are like that. The thing is, in conversation, there's also human archetypes. Allegedly, apparently. Now, this is philosophy and rhetoric, things to think about. Like, some people have this archetype. Some people are manifestors. Some people are reflectors. You know what I'm saying? We could talk about healers, light workers, empaths, and things like that. Some people are reflectors. like they're mirrors, you know, or you don't know. I mean, I talk like that. To say somebody's a mirror, I'm saying in a sense of the things that people, what you, for social media terminology, projection. Some people are mirrors in the sense that the people that they come in contact with will try to project towards them. And as a reflector, they have to learn to not internalize what somebody is saying at them, spewing towards them, because it's not for them. With the whole idea of projection, one of the whole things with the idea of projection is that, let me see if I should note this. Maybe this is about 25 projection. So one of the things about projection is that with the whole mirror thing, like in conversation, there's another idea with called Ikage. It's IKGAI. Google that. Ikage, you know what I'm saying? It's a Japanese term, and your life purpose is hidden in the advice you so freely give. This is where you hear people say, "Oh, practice what you preach." You keep saying this and the third, but you're not living by the things that you sit here and talk about, the morals, the principles, all this advice you be giving. You're not living by that. This is why people say practice what you preach. You know what I'm saying? So the one thing is, in conversation, it's a concept that's like, I want to be able to explain this so that you're understanding that when you're talking, and this is to anybody, it doesn't matter who you're talking to, right? What you're saying to them is low key for you. What you're saying to them is low key for you. What they're saying it seems as if y'all are having a conversation, and what they're saying to you is for them. You see what I'm saying? And then it's almost like a Venn diagram though as well. It's almost, but it's like this, black and white, the mix, the gray. Maybe part of what they're saying, if you're gonna take some accountability, which is something that people like to duck and dodge. People start dugging. It comes to accountability, but is there any truth to what they're saying? And that's why you got to sit back and take the time to reflect on certain conversations. Like, what was I saying to this person? But how could I take any of that advice? What I said to them, how does that apply to me? And then what they're saying, again, because you, for sure, when it comes to like boundaries, and expect from what someone else is saying to you, when it comes to like boundaries and energy and like, because somebody could say something to you, and I'm gonna somebody could say something to you good, and that changes your mood in a positive way. We'll say positive. And somebody could say something to you bad, and that changes your mood in a negative way. But if you don't care about what they're saying at all, it doesn't change your mood. And so like that's a better place to be in, that what positive or negative, what anybody says is not affecting you, your mood, your mentality, how you feel and think about yourself. So that's another thing, right? But is there anything that they said that could be for me, actually, and picking apart some of the things. And this is where sometimes you can look at a person and say, well, yeah, no, that applies. That's not, that part, I'm not going to sit here and say that I could really apply that in such a positive way. So when I bring this back to the question of would you have to be a good person or a great person? Now, the good, what I'm saying, being a good person is focusing on family, focus on relationships, making sure that you're present for those close people, your close relationships in your life, developing those, fostering those. That's one. That's what I mean by a good person. A great person, and that's your focus. Your focus is on your relationships, co-workers, employees, family, friends. That is your focus is on that. When I say a great person, it's your focus is on affecting the world, affecting large communities, having a large scale impact and influence. And one of the things is, like, he mentioned Napoleon, and Napoleon has this greatness and everything to him, and the people watching, and they was even, because people want or need leaders. Like, this is one of those things. I heard there was a street preacher, and he talked about the nation of Israel, the nation of Israel. I don't want to go too far into that, but Israel wasn't supposed to have a king, and but they see these other nations and countries have a king, and so they wanted one, and that's what you want, all right, that's what you'll have. But it didn't turn out to be a good one, you know. But those people who have, like, this great or large impact, and there's another name for it too. Another pastor told me the name for it. It's called the Book of Something. There's like this book or something. I forget what it's called, but you being in that book is like you are etched in history of the history of mankind. And it's almost like, hold on, let me moderate certain stuff real quick. So not too much. 'Cause I feel like I saw the other name, so but no, wrong click. Remove and remove and remove. Okay. So I was saying that, come on. I was saying that, there's a book. It's almost like the Hall of Fame. So Shannon Sharp, I think, talked about, like, when you think about the Hall of Fame, right? The Hall of Fame is, yeah, there have been a lot of players who've played this sport, but when you talk about the history of the game, you're going to have to mention this person. When you talk about wide receivers, you got to mention Jerry Rice. You got to talk about Randy Moss. You're going to talk about Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin. Certain names are going to come up. When you talk about quarterbacks, you're going to have to talk about Tom Brady. Yeah. You got to talk about Tom Brady. You got to talk about Joe Montana, Hannah Montana. You got to talk about, when you talk about certain things, it's like that Hall of Fame, you have to talk about and mention certain players, running backs, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson. You know what I'm saying? Man, if I go to the defense side, we talk about, you got to mention Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Bob Sanders, cornerbacks, Deion Sanders, Brian Urlacher. Like, we go to a linebacker, Vince Wilfork. If we go to, like, linemen, I really like Cromartie, Antonio Cromartie, Richard Sherman. I'm trying to think, make sure. tight ends of Gronkowski. I think there was this one, Jason Witten, I think was the one for the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you got to mention certain people, right? And so when you talk about the history of Earth and the world and people, it's certain people, we're not talking about good and bad, because some people, just because they have a negative legacy, people just and third. So, but they have this magnitude and this greatness, and you have to like mention them, regardless. And so one of those other questions I wanted to like, I remember I asked them too. I threw it out, and I've said this to a couple people. Are you a good person, or do you not have enough courage to do evil? Are you a good person, or do you not have enough courage to do evil? Because who's to define what's good and bad? You see what I'm saying? Like, contextually. Like, the whole, let's say, without getting too far into too many different things, remember there was, like, I think, what, the DC sniper? That person has to get removed, right? But killing is bad. But if you take him off the list and delete him, then it's like, well, is that one okay? Is that death okay? If you remove a person who is, they talk about PDFs, if you understand, if you know, you know. They talk about those types of people. Fruit, I'm not even gonna say the fruit, but it's it rhymes with I don't want to say the fruit. It rhymes with tape. It rhymes with tape. Like cassette tape, a videotape, that fruit. People do those things. It's like, oh, is it okay if is killing or death okay? The removal of this person okay if you remove people who do those types of things and those activities? You see what I'm saying? So it's, are you good, or are you like, what's good and what's bad? Like, the determine then who did slavery was determined to be good. And a lot of people have been talking about how Christianity justified slavery. The slave owners justified slavery with Bible verses. And that was a trick of the whole thing, and the slaves really having to, and I've been meaning to I can make a video for that one too. But the guy was like, when these Christian white people came over, these colonizers came to our land with their book, they said, let's pray. When we opened our eyes, they had the land and we had the book. It got you in the chokehold, the psychosis, religion. Napoleon has a quote. He says, if you want to control the people, use religion. And so it's something to talk about. Again, this is philosophy. This is rhetoric. This is class. Discussion, open discussion. So those are things to talk about, and it's fine. So this is why I'm gonna go back to the whole, well, for what a person is saying, how much is it for them? How much is it for you? And the parts in between that, of what you're saying back to them. So that was something that was from, and I'll speak personally, my own opinion. It is, I mentioned to him on Netflix on the Netflix series You, season 2, there's a writer's group, and the girl says, "My greatest fear is being unremarkable." And I'm gonna tie one more other thing, because I saw a comment section and a person talked about, like, man, this shouldn't have even been written. This is how this book was so bad, it shouldn't have even been put to pen, paper, it should never been written, right? I go to the comment section, there's a name that keeps popping up as far as being a bad writer. And that's not, in a sense, good. But this person's name is synonymous with being a bad writer. Multiple people had the same opinion. So I'm like, wow. But the thing is, this person, regardless, is going to be remembered. Not forgotten. The point is not to be forgotten. It in the series, in the show, in that episode, she said, it's like giving somebody something. What do you think about this? I don't have no opinion. Don't think it's good. Don't think it's bad. I'm gonna forget about it. And so in the conversation, I threw out the other one too. Van Gogh. That's scary. That you don't get your roses until after. Yeah, that's another scary thing for me. You know what I'm saying? You don't get your roses until after. And so it's like, what if he had any? What if any and all of that kind of sort of would have affected him? And what if he was like, you know what? I'll never be appreciated. I'll never be appreciated. And then he stops. And he doesn't create. He stopped painting. You don't get the Starry Night. You don't get this, you don't get that. What if, because nobody was appreciating his art, he just stopped? And he was like, and he took up the mentality, nobody's gonna remember it anyway. But now there's a whole museum for Van Gogh. Now he's regarded as one of the greatest artists ever, but he wasn't during his time period, right? So that's another, what philosophy, right? Something to think about. Chew on that. Mentally think about that, right? And so the other point I was about to say was, for a person, right? Because he was like, the guy, in leaving conversation, he was like, yeah, I don't care about that. He was like, the future generations and future people, not knowing that he even existed, that was okay for him. And that bothers me. That bothers me, though. That future generations won't even know you existed. There are a lot, I would say, on a large, grand scheme across the world, it's not specific to any race. In general, I think a lot of people will probably agree with that. Like, they don't care if future generations will remember them. You know what I'm saying? And so, since this is philosophy and rhetoric class, I'm going to also mention a couple other things. So, as an artist, as a little funny joke, I remember somebody said, you don't have to pay someone to tell you to write a paper about something you're interested in. You know, you don't have to go to college, pay for college to have someone tell you, hey, I need you to do this assignment. I need you to read this and write a response to this and write a 1,200 word essay, double space, Times New Roman. You don't need to go to school and pay somebody to tell you what to write about topics you're interested in, right? So for me, one thing, and this still ties into the whole topic and discussion about greatness and impact. So another thing was another conversation I had about greatness being a choice. I'm gonna mention that as well. I think I mentioned it in my video earlier, but greatness, impact. So for me as an artist, right? One thing that caught my attention and made me think and wonder with the Egyptians, right? Kemet. Now, Egypt, Egypt is not the original name for the land of Egypt. The name changed based off a person who came in and conquered, and his name was Egyptos. And so prior to that, it was Kemet. And I think that's like the land of the black people or something like that. Black first, something like that. Like dark skinned people, whatever. And so, but then when you start to learn stuff, it's like Kemet, right? But what's the science that we have? Chemistry, and that's elements, and that makes up, and that's everything, right? Chemistry is literally everything. So everything has elements, protons, neutrons, electrons, all that stuff, right? Even I don't want to go too far off that, but there was this one guy who talked about, like, if you look at the order of the elements, and then, because since I talked about and I mentioned religion, there was and this is just something that you can either kind of sort of like parallel in this and third, but the Bible tends to have stories that are remixes of other stories prior to the Bible. So the Bible has these concepts that are based off of prior religions or whatever you want to call them. And so the Bible just remixed it. And so it's like, this has a parallel. These stories have a parallel, but this story comes from Egypt. This story comes from Sumeria. This story comes from here. But in the Bible, it looks like this and it's phrased like this. I looked up Egypt. One thing, right now we have text messages, right? But even a couple things that you'll start to see. People, when they text, they will shorten up words, or they remove the vowels from some things. Like you saw Kanye do that with naming a couple of his shoes. But in texting, text, TXT, WID, what you doing, right? And so, like, some of the actual Egyptian words are of that essence and vibe. Like, they don't have these vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. Those don't. It's this one is NT is a god. How did they pronounce that? So some people put an NUT, and I think that's for nighttime. Shu, and I think SHU, and that's like I think that's the god of like air and stuff like that. Now I don't want to go too far. I looked up the Egypt thing because hieroglyphics, now we got emojis. I looked up Egypt because if you look at their art, it's, you know Egypt for having the hieroglyphics. And if you sit there and think, like, now one thing about the hieroglyphics is they're neat. It's not like, oh, this looks like a cave drawing. No, it's neat, right? It's neat, colorful, and at the time it would have been way more whatever. Neat and colorful and this, that, and the third. So it's like, this is what they really wanted hieroglyphics to look like. They really, I should have wrote this part down, because I'm not talking about a whole nother part. But they really wanted hieroglyphics to look like how they look. And so one thing that you'll notice when you look at art, right, the difference between Egyptian art and the Greco-Roman art, the Greeks were focused, they had a lot of statues. We know the Greeks were having like the Parthenon. You got these statues of Zeus. Zeus is also mentioned in the Bible. You got these statues of Zeus, Poseidon, and then the names, like Zeus is Jupiter, Mars and Aries. You see, that is one of those things that I like to pose at people in a sense of, They believed in Mars, and then the Romans had Ares, or what does it semantics. But it's the same thing, but it's just a different name. And if you apply that concept to what we have now, this was this. They used to call it this and used to call it this. You don't believe in Venus. You don't believe in Jupiter. You don't believe in Mars. You don't believe in Uranus. You don't believe in them in the sense of gods, but you believe in them in the sense of planets. And if there's no bearing to this, why would we name our planets after gods that we don't believe in? That's mythology. That's passed off as mythology. The days of the week are named after certain gods. Why would we live our life based on, why would we name our days, our planets on mythological creatures that never existed, ever? That's rhetoric, philosophy. Why would we live our day-to-day lives and don't really believe in that? But yet we're gonna call our days of the week this, and we're gonna call our planets this. The Egypt, Greek, and Romans. Egypt really wanted their hieroglyphics to look like that. And how do the hieroglyphics look? Flat, right? And so when you look at it, they focus on it's flat. But the Greco-Roman art is statues, which means they focus more on like, how did this look in the present moment? Whereas the Egyptians looked at it in a sense of eternity, eternality, right? And so for me, that's one of those big things of like, and that's why bringing it back to this whole of being good or great, like wanting, and then you guys study your wants and your desires. Why do you want to be remembered? Why do you want generations for the rest of time until the end of time to know about you? You see what I'm saying? So that's why but I know that that's an internal thing, like for me, that I wrestle with. But I'm talking to a person who doesn't necessarily care about people hundreds of years from now even knowing that they existed. And that's fine. And I'm saying that's fine for them to think like that, but it's like, well, nah, I would want, that's how I would want people to the end of time to know that I existed. And so when you think about, well, what could I do? What could I say that really for the end of time, now they're going to talk about this. He said this, looked like this, did this, those type of actions, and thinking about how can I be great? How can I be so great? That great. You know what I'm saying? And it's like for those that are mentioned in history throughout this course of history, that courage. Everybody can't be a dictator, a Caesar, a czar, this leader that has, we don't care what you positive or negative, get out your feelings. This is rhetoric, philosophy. They, regardless of that, they're going down and they have went down and they are remembered. They are remembered for years, generations, and they're talked about and learned about, their name, their likeness. And so hopefully, you know what I'm saying, the message reaches, you know what I'm saying, some people who are also like, what if you lived amongst a nation of people who thought to be like that? And that's one of the beauty for me, in this, again, opinion, but like that's one of the beauties in Egypt. That nation of people is always going to be talked about, never to be forgotten. The pyramids are synonymous with Egypt, but yet pyramids exist literally all over the world. Literally, almost. I'm from what I've at least heard or seen, there's There's pyramids underwater in Japan and China. There's pyramids, Machu Picchu and all that stuff. There's pyramids in Mexico. There's pyramids all over the world. But it's synonymous with being in the nation of Egypt. So that's one of these like just having that mentality of like, we're as a nation, we're going to be remembered forever. You cannot talk about the history of people without mentioning them. People barely mention Sumeria. People barely mention, and I think that may be as old or just or a little bit older. I'm not sure how old the Sumeria is. And so, like, to have a nation of people and a collective country of people like, we're going to be in such a way, like, even if we can't name all, like, we know a couple Egyptians, right? But we at least know the nation of. It's like that. That's the vibe. That's the mentality. Getting to that, being of that vibe and that essence, is important to me. I think philosophy and rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? And if more people thought like that, if more people thought, I have to be remembered, and it's just, everyone's not going to be, right? Everyone's not going to be, but like the things that they would do and say, you can only imagine the thing. You see what people doing now for some attention. Every time I open that Instagram app, it's double tap. I'm a simple man. Yeah, they dancing, they twerking. Yeah, man. So, the other one I wanted to mention was there was this was a story. This comes from I at least need to know because I'm still talking about greatness and whatnot. But whatever. There was another story of in college, and this person wanted me to participate on this team, and it's almost like Jeopardy. You know what I'm saying? And this person wanted me to participate in the team. They like, you're smart, you're this, you know what I'm saying? You can do this, that, there. And I didn't want to do it. Right? And so the person was like, you know what? You're not ready to be great. And that's okay. The person said that to me, right? And I like, this was in college. So this was almost 15 to 10, 11 years ago. And I remember this. A person saying this, you're not ready to be great. And it sat with me, and saying that to me, the way I interpret it was, greatness is a choice. That's why I got a whatchamacallit, but in my Instagram bio, it says, greatness is a choice, choose wisely. Greatness is a choice, choose wisely. And that's like, they're like conversations, there are things that, this is what sparked my first book. My first book is like, for some reason, there's just certain things that people have said to me that I just really remember. You see what I'm saying? And I interpreted it a certain way, or it changed the way I think and thought. And so I don't know if somebody hearing this one day will be like, it does the same thing for them. It changes the way they think and the way they thought. They never thought to do this. They never this and the third one. I was telling, like, even just like I had a conversation earlier today, and I was telling the person like of how to just understand military time. You know what I'm saying? I was talking about some other stuff. We were talking about cars and, you know what I'm saying, this and that and different shorties and but just talking to the time with them, and but then in conversation it was like, I never thought like this, and I gotta rewire my brain. I gotta think how do I think to do this or do that and do that. I'm like, just try this for a day, just do this, and then that. But I think another thing, like, I really be trying to tell people, like, I talk to people. This is what I saw. Somebody had said this, like, some people don't understand how prepared I am to never talk to them again. Totally fine with that. because I'm talking to you, treating you as if I'll never see you again. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I'll be feeling like I'm overloading a person, like, I'm saying this, saying that, saying this, saying that. And I'm like, I feel like I'm overloading a person with information because I want to tell them so much. And then I sometimes like, all right, well, at least I told this person this, or I said this, so, you know, and, but there's been plenty of times where somebody has said, remember you said this to me before and I always remembered it, or you did this, or, you know what I'm saying? So, um, and again, sometimes good or bad, you know what I'm saying? Good or bad, sometimes you're the lesson for somebody and you don't know it. You don't know it. You know what I'm saying? It could be bad, and then you just end up being the lesson for them. But you taught them to have boundaries, or you taught them to speak up for themselves, or you taught them to, those are things. Those are things too. Those are things too. I don't even think I got good timestamps for this, because the last one I wrote down was that, and I don't even think that. We'll leave it. We'll leave it. So the question for tonight, that was the question for philosophy class today. The question for philosophy and rhetoric class is, a lot of that back part was rhetoric. A lot of that back part was rhetoric. So I'm actually changing mine. Now, another part of, just class in general is just being a content creator professor. I'm gonna name this part rhetoric, and I'm gonna name it rhetoric and philosophy. I've been a content. I gotta work. I gotta work on my own things too, man. Work on my own things. So the welcome philosophy class, the question it was inspired by, and then I guess I just titled that part rhetoric and philosophy. I'll just go back to figure out what this part was, and then the switch between that. Goodness and greatness, and so I think one of the things I think that could be mentioned is I'll kind of throw those in there. So so social media terms. So people they're on social media and they hear this and this and a third, and they just kind of sort of run with it, but not really knowing this and a third. So a couple years ago, the word narcissist became a big part of a lot of people's, you know what I'm saying? They just so ready to call somebody a narcissist, right? Narcissist is a Greco-Roman god. He fell in love with himself. He looked in the stories that for however he looked, or this and the third, he looked into the water, saw his reflection, and fell in love with himself. And, but the thing is, like, nobody could love himself more than he loved himself. So there's this one thing, again, we're still talking about philosophy and rhetoric, like a narcissist wouldn't be a bad thing to be. Narcissist was, one, a Greco-Roman god, two, self-love, right? Self-love. And loving yourself more than anybody else could. You know what I'm saying? Some people say, if you don't love yourself, then how can you love someone else? If you don't have enough self-love, how can you even love someone else properly? You know what I'm saying? The things that you would say and do for yourself, the things you would say and do for someone else. So why did I want to mention narcissist? Narcissist is why did I want to mention that? The Greco-Roman god, goodness and greatness. I wonder, like, what goodness and grace is like. What else did I want to say about the goodness and greatness? I don't remember. But like, you're like, all right, Paul, I'm just gonna not, and I'm just gonna just be and exist, and I'm just gonna do this, have this little impact here, and I affected this person in a positive way, this person in a positive way, making sure you focus on your relationships. But greatness, want to be able to impact, generations and people forever to the end of time. You know, wanting that, having that, needing that. Why? Why do you want to? You know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing. It's like, oh, I think that's why I wanted to like mention the narcissist part. Like, why would you want some people, for lack of a better word, like attention? Why would you want people to know you for the rest of the end of time? Like, what type of mentality is that to have? That you want people to know you existed until the rest and for the end of time. And sometimes it's like, even if it's loosely here, you like a competitive sense, like, yo, what? Like, I don't know. I almost think that, like, dang, bro, like, bro, I just think that there's just some people who did not, bro. Like, and if you had the chance, opportunity, and you could really potentially be known forever, you know what I'm saying? You had the potential to be known forever till the end of time. Where does that want, need, or desire come from, though? To want that, to want to have that much attention, that much fame, that much claim, that much clout, that much influence, that much power, that much control. You see, like, because you can, in a sense, right, apply those, and none of those really, whatchamacallit, right? Whether it's Buddha, Lord Buddha, Yahweh, this, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out who's the Hindu one. Um, I think I looked the thing up. I think it was Shiva and Shakti. I could still be, I missed out. There was something like with those, but like, yeah. Did they know that they were going to have an impact for thousands of years? Or did they not know? One of the things about Buddha, I think one of the stories with Buddha was Buddha, like, in a sense, like, I think maybe Buddha was like homeless or something like that. But he always spent the night in a home. And like, that is, people of a certain time probably like, yo, Buddha lived, like, he would go from like door to door, house to house. Buddha lived with other people. Like, he would meet that person, and that person would let him stay there for the night, and they would feed him and things like that. Like, we live in a time and a space now that, what? Why are you going around living at people's houses eating their food? I'm just going to throw, since this is philosophy and rhetoric class, you can't do that. I'm not talking about wanting to do it. You can't do that. Like, if you were able to live freely, anytime you needed somewhere to stay, and you could go anywhere in the world and talk to anybody, and they would say, you can stay with me, and I'll feed you. And then the next day you do that, tied with somebody you just met, conceptually, you can't do that, right? So, but this is one of the things about Lord Buddha. This is like, that's one of the stories about Buddha and his impact that he had on the world at that time. To the extent that there's a whole religion named after Buddha. So, did he know that? Or was Buddha just like, yeah, you know what? I just, you know what I'm saying? Because in timelines, quantum physics, since it's philosophy and rhetoric class, that's what quantum physics and mechanics is all about. There's a timeline in which Buddha has a normal, whatever the people and however the people were living at the time when Buddha was alive, he could have been like those people. Whether it's we are farmers, whether he's just a farmer, whether he's a shepherd, a herder, if he does textile or clothes, whatever it is that the people at that time were doing for work, if Buddha did that, there's on this timeline, there would be no Lord Buddha. And I think one of the other things to like mention and talk about like with certain religions and these figures. Now, the interesting thing about Jesus is that is the only person, I'm using quotations here, that's the only person in history whose existence is questioned. That is the only person in history whose existence is questioned. Buddha existed. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can pass off Zeus and Hera and Poseidon. You can sit here and pass off those figures as mythology. My then point to you kind of sort of would be, we don't have, like, you don't know a sculptor personally. You're not a sculptor. You don't know a sculptor personally. If you Google one of the most Googleable questions, is how to draw. You can't draw. So if you can't draw, I'm pretty sure you can't sculpt. Like, so this is one of the things when I look at, or at least think about these Greek statues in the Parthenon, the guy had a statue of Dwayne Wade. I don't think it looks like Dwayne Wade. A lot of other people don't think it looks like Dwayne Wade. And this is a person who lives to do this. And we don't think it looks like Dwayne Wade. We have statues of people that we know. Yeah, this person looked like this. And this person looked like this. There's a statue. What statues do you know? We got statues of Jordan, Michael Jordan. And if I say Jordan, I'm not talking about the river. I'm not talking about the country. There's a statue of Michael Jordan. You know Michael Jordan existed, right? There's a statue of Dirk Nowitzki. But if you see a statue of Zeus and Hera, you're like, nah, that was. The pushback that I would give to anybody sitting there thinking about it is, you yourself, and you don't know anybody else personally that could create a statue. I'm not talking about clay. I'm not talking about Clay Thompson. I'm not talking about clay. I'm not talking about drawing. You yourself cannot, and you do not know a person that can personally make a statue of an imaginary figure with details and make it look realistic. You can't do it. And you don't know somebody who can. But you think that the Greeks and the Romans did just that. That they of their own free will, for no reason at all, made a realistic statue of figures that never existed. But you think you're smarter than people who came before you. You think that you're smarter and way more talented than the first people to ever exist. You're way smarter. You know way more than the people who first existed. But you can't do what they did. And you don't know somebody personally who can. You cannot make a statue that size, and you don't know somebody who can make a statue that size of the great detail that it is. And now I'm talking about Egypt and ancient Greek and Rome. This brick wall back right there, you can't, and you don't know somebody who can etch a picture into stone and make it look pretty. You can't do that to nobody personally, but you're gonna pass off what these people thought to be and see and pass it off as mythology. That makes sense to you, but not to me. Because I'm an artist. I've worked with clay. I'm not even talking about etching something into stone and making it look as pretty as the hieroglyphics do. I'm not even talking about etching something into stone, making it as pretty as the hieroglyphics are. I've messed with clay, but I haven't created a statue. I haven't chiseled a statue and definitely of a statue and make something I ain't never even seen before and make it bigger than life. I at this point in time, that's me though. I don't want to speak for everybody. This philosophy and rhetoric. Did I have 2 already for tonight? I had 2 already? I think I started with this one. That's the second one I started with this one. The last ended up, okay. All right. Dang, bro. I should have got another one. I should have got another one. I'm back at it like up in the attic. Like your mama back. I'm back at it. I'm back at it, boy. We had to take this one seriously. I'm going to try to use matches. Let me see. They personified their gods. Good. I like that statement. And philosophy and rhetoric. I'm going to also take. I haven't finished the rest of your statement yet. They personified their gods. When you think about Jesus, if you know the artist, I forget which one it is, but it's one that you actually know the name of. That artist was charged with making this pictorial representation of Jesus, and it's actually based off one of his cousins or friends. A person is going to make their God look like them. I'm going to say that. Let me finish the rest of this. So that's good that you said that. They personified their gods. Another thing, I got to stick with this a little bit more. Philosophy and rhetoric class. Thank you for participating in I like this contribution here. Personifying a god, right? So there's a jealous God. This God has rage. Feelings, emotions are humanly traits. So how could a God have feelings? I'll leave that there. And had a rich cultural tradition that would inform their physical appearances. You know, what you have when you had said that right there? I'm not. What do you mean by that? Because we don't got magic. We don't got shapeshifters. We don't know what manifestation means. We don't know the power of words, spells, manifestations, prayer. I don't know the difference. Synonymous. Meditation, reflect. What do you mean it would inform their physical appearance? What do you mean by that? What you had said when you had said that right there. Some were visited by the others and given knowledge, watchers. There is, since we're talking about philosophy and rhetoric, you know, it makes more sense if you think about the Bible in the sense of that was the time when aliens came. If you don't necessarily have a name for something you've never seen before and it's coming from the sky, maybe, right? You're not them, right? We don't have a name for this. I think if somebody came down from the sky and started showing all this technology and stuff that can do all that stuff you can't do, you might call them a god. You might call them a god. Now, this is conspiracy. Conspiracy. They do mention that, like, of nations, German engineering, right? Certain nations having contracts with them and saying, yeah, we're going to make sure that you have this information, this technology, so you can do certain things and da-da-da, woo. But then what's given up in return for that? Next question, next comment here. But also, to be honest, ancient Greek, Egypt, and Rome were very connected. So still impressive. And so one of those things is like with the Greeks and Romans, and I think there's this is one of the things about the people used to think the world was going to end in 2012 with the Mayans. And like some of those ancient cultures knowing planetary positions. And so we're struggling to get to the moon. And you would think that at this point we can get to the moon pretty easily. But they knew but the telescope wasn't invented until what, Galileo? The telescope wasn't invented until Galileo. So how did these ancient people and nations know about the planetary alignments and the position of these planets? Certainly, because the culture we are born into influences our deities. And I'm not going to refute that at all. I'm not going to refute that at all. Next comment. I mean, the way they depicted their gods as person would be informed by our cultural signifiers, like the specific pieces of armor they wear, their hair. Okay. Hold on. I think that ties. You are answering the other part, this part. Rich culture that would inform their physical appearances. So are you saying that like Zeus having a toga is because of like are you saying like that? You know what I'm saying? Where does that part come from, right? Now, Greek statues, like the statue of the statue of David is something else, right? The thinking man, they're nude though, right? They're nude. So I understand that. I understand that. It's just like, but one of the one things, there's like these group of like these little statues. They're not little, first of all, but there's these other statues with like big triangular, like the way that like they talk about like with dinosaurs and stuff like that, and that's just a whole nother thing about dinosaurs and dragons. But the size now of a great size that is not disputed is a mammoth, which is almost close to an elephant, right? The mammoth is the one, like people don't dispute the existence of a mammoth. And I think the last of the mammoths existed around Egyptian times. Why am I saying this? Just the size. Another guy, and this was it was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Another guy talked about it's something about the presence and the amount of presence of, I think, carbon. If you study Kemet, now remember I just told you Kemet was the old name of Egypt. If you study, there's two types of chemistry though. There's inorganic and there's organic. And one is I think organic is things that have carbon, but for some reason, there's a lot of things that have more carbon. There's not a lot of things that don't have carbon, but inorganic, I think, chemistry is a little bit tougher, from what I've heard. All right, this is going to be Dicha Nove. Yeah, Dicha Nove. This is going to be Dicha Nove. I wanted to, because I've been doing the videos like that. I just don't think I did go to whatchamacallit though. I think I could have had more timestamps. But I didn't know. I didn't keep track of like I don't. They're different. Like and that's why it's a little bit harder. But I mean, I'm just trying it out. 124. Let me just say 125. We'll try. I don't feel much wind. Questo è soggetto 1219. Questo è soggetto 1219. 1219. 1219 is not the time. That is the subject number for the year. So this was nice. This was nice. So while I was saying, I guess until I come back to it. But basically, this is 1219. Questo è soggetto 1219. 1219. I want to say so. I didn't want to talk about like just now. Like I didn't know what I was going to say. Yeah. So that's why I'm like struggling. Well, see, that's not if I would have preparing. Right now I'm just reflecting on how class went today. Right now I'm reflecting on how class went. So usually I'm able to go back, or before I make a video, it's, well, not all the time, but I know more about what I'm going to say. I know more about what I'm going to say. Now, you're just like, oh, I know I'm going to talk about this and talk about this. So, other part, with this being a live stream, I knew I wanted to like have the question, but everything I'm going to mention and talk about, that was the part. So, and I didn't know how long I would stay on that particular part. No, that's not a justified reason. That's not a justified reason. I'm gonna put the Jones out there. That was the one. Those are the ones for real, kind of, sort of. I think I still could have cleaned that up. But the one part being the gist of it, that's the main part of philosophy and rhetoric. So what I wrote down, I'll make another video just for like philosophy, because I have seen it broken down, like the Sophie. Now I was trying to remember other words. If it wasn't Sophie, geography, mythology, maybe it was the OG, I don't know. There was some, I remember saying the Sophie being like that meant something. I'm not sure if it was knowledge or wisdom. And I think it's Greco-Roman, Latin. We don't speak that. Or that vibe. So what did I write for that? I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, this is just me reflecting. I forgot those better. Well, maybe I just try to make sure I keep track of time. Questions. That's another thing too. Like, that's why I'm low key, high key. I made one video where it's like, okay, now I just did a really good thing right here with this. Let me make a video, just say, oh, this was what English class, and we just talked about this topic, this whatever. So I did do that in another video, another video, I said, well, okay, this is history class, this is math class, this is the math class lesson. Boom, 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 boom. One of the things I was saying that I'm about to sit here and do now is, I think that's at least decent for to be like, okay. Well, I guess the live stream could be like the practice for it, maybe. We're adding another topic to class. So, in the lessons, how could I make a video that feels like it feels lesson oriented and regardless the information that I'm giving, talking about is the teaching aspect. Somebody's going to be able to learn regardless. Somebody, like the math lesson for today. How do you divide? And that's something I can retouch on that and just do that one again. Give another example, a better one maybe. But it's also what I like about my math lessons now. Sometimes I'm like, when am I ever going to use this or how is this and that? But my math lessons now are real life. My math lessons now are, oh, this is literally what was happening, what was going on conversation wise, boom. And me doing the topic of just come up like that. Even me talking about, well, what's my trajectory? My average number for how many I've had this year. Maintaining that pace and going like those things coming up. Math, but I'm trying to see, is that enough, Like, like in another video, it could be the what's that one thing called? If I just separate the topics, that I think that's fine. Like today, not that I felt cool, I thought it was cool or something like that, but I thought it was at least because like at least getting out the so Darius Crooks. Darius Cooks. Darius Cooks, he posted another video, right? And somebody was like, for whether however he posted another video, but you never heard anybody, no student responses, no students say anything, because he kept changing the angle of the video. So it was like he's sitting there in his classroom, acting like he's talking to students, and he ain't talking to nobody. And the camera angles keep changing. You couldn't have did that if you was actually teaching. And so, I think what I at least enjoyed kind of sort of was like, I was just writing my notebook. I got out the whole, I need a whiteboard type of thing. Oh, if I'm on a whiteboard and I say and try to do certain things. I almost did that with the art the other day. So, and it was like, I did the art and it was able to be seen, but it was like small on paper and it was actually like so far away and I'm not able to zoom in on the front camera and stuff like that. As I'm sitting here thinking on the spot, that's an easy fix though. Even if I did have a piece of paper, I could like tape the piece of paper to the wall, look at the back camera, and then focus the back camera on the piece of paper taped to the wall. That's a simple fix. For whatever it is I'm doing. Now it's a little bit harder if I'm drawing on clothes, because I think that's one of the main things I be trying to draw on. I think last time I drew on the Amazon tote bag, me drawing on the hats, that like me drawing on something. So to have art class, as well. Now I'm not sure. Yeah, I could try to be more technical and say like, okay, this is how you go about this, whatever. But like art class, but what if art class is just drawing something you want to draw type of thing, and you just spending that time to do that. Art class just being you watching somebody draw, paint, whatever, create, whatever it is. I'm trying. One of the things I'm trying to really think about is how how can I make a video in such a way for at least make me feel like, yeah, it's not the information, because the information is there. Like with this is going to feel like philosophy and rhetoric, because what I'm talking about is going to make you think. So this doesn't require me to write down anything. The philosophy and rhetoric is whatever I say or mention, making you think about a certain topic or idea. And it doesn't have to be to, well, a part of it could, but it's not that there's no agreement with what I think and what you think. It doesn't have to be that. That's the beauty in the philosophy. What you think and what I think doesn't have to agree. And when they talk about like argument, when you argue with someone, you're rarely ever going to change their stance. And so it's for everything that you have to say, they have this refute for it. Unless you know more about your topic than they do and they don't have a refute for that. And then when they reach that point, there's things that a person will, they don't really necessarily handle that well when you know something more than they do and they can't refute you anymore just because they don't want to agree with you. Just because they don't want to agree with you, and they no longer have anything to like combat. They don't know enough about their stance. They don't know enough about their side to refute what you just said. So that the things that they start to say from there, that's just like there's like this end of conversation that where I just tend to back out, because it's well, you have nothing to actually contribute from that point. Because then name calling, and there's a lot of people really, when it gets to that point, that's the point of like the conversation is more fruitful for either party. So I'm just trying to think of how I can make a video that a viewer would sit there and listen. And now the things that they do, I'm not there to, I'm not there to ensure that they write, they draw, they engage, or do anything else from there. But do I want to make it, is it feeling like class? I'm trying to see, like, what is it that I'm trying to like get to as far as the video? Because right now I have the classes. I at least have a video that goes from math class, science class, foreign language. I went to go for a run. You see what I'm saying? So we got PE. And I have a video where I at least said like, okay, this part is for math class. This is history class. I think I did math, history. I think I did science, foreign language. Although we got to have some extracurriculars, and I was like, I'm about to go run. So at least me mentioning that, and I did have a video of me running. So like, it was like, all right, well, after this video, I think I connected it to the end screen. Was like, all right, I did go for a run. So is there a way I can make that better? And see, like, this is what I think one of the things about like the whole Darius Cook situation was like, as a teacher, that's one thing you, after this lesson, like, if you feel like that lesson failed, it's how do you pivot from there to make it better? Even if you I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, that I feel like I did a decent job. I'm still trying to make it better. But right now I'm trying to figure out what type of video am I actually sitting here trying to get, like, if that's not the goal right there. Or how can I fine tune that? How can I tune that up, or what am I trying to get to with that? Because the other part with like whatchamacallit is, because you can also add quizzes to the video. This is that prep work that I'm going to have to like need beforehand and after. You can add quizzes to your video. I guess that would have to be something as far as comments, right? How can I know a person either did this or thought about that? Maybe I could charge a person to say, okay, at this point, you know, see, now there's another part of like, with this, it's you leave it in the comments and the person they can rationale and say, this is why I would rather be a good person. This is why I would rather be a great person. And people can have their variance in their reasoning. But maybe, sometimes with the math, there's one answer. But there's multiple ways to get there. So that could be something like, have you ever heard this explained a different way? Can you give another example? Or what would you like to see next? And we did this type of problem. Were you able to successfully do it? Okay, I need to write some of that down. Okay. Because those are general. Because sometimes it is, well, what happens if you see this? Well, what happens if this happens? And the teacher might not capture that, whatchamacallit. So the student might say, well, how do you, well, what if, like if we're factoring, right? I don't have a constant term. Or even with factoring. I think somebody posted the other day, they used the letter T. But let's say we had r squared plus 2r, I think equal 12. R squared plus 2r equals 12. I think that was the problem. Nope, it wasn't. It was r squared minus, I think they used t, but I'm just saying r just because I want to change it up. R squared minus r equals 12. That's what it was. I remember because I remember the answer. And I remember the factors. And I remember which factor had to be negative and which factor had to be positive. Those type of things. How you know when this is going to be positive? How you know when this is going to be negative? Those type of things. So yeah. We'll just drop a question if we have any. Questions and comments. So that does give it another vibe or feel. That gives it another vibe or feel. Do I want a person to feel like they were in class? Sometimes when people watch certain movies and they're like, yo, I just sat in silence when this thing ended. Like how a movie like pulls you in and you just feel like, I feel like I was there. Or you wish you were there, Do I want to make it feel that way? So, because that's why I was so big on like having a whiteboard. But this is where these are the way you type of these. This is where you start to say like, yeah, that's what normal class feels like, But this is the graffiti jungle, and my class feels like this. My class looks like this, and it can be anywhere. Tabernacle. I can get picked up and moved. So, okay, I have my rationale against that. But I still want somebody to be like, I feel, And that's why I say, like, with the learning part, the information's there. I can, there's a lot of things I can just say or do that person probably even never heard or seen. You know what I'm saying? So the information there, the person can feel like I just learned something after watching it. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so what is it? Hmm. But how do you can't do that, right? That's on them. I feel like I just had class. Like I just had class. Homework. You at home watching the video anyway. Homework. Maybe you challenge somebody to do. Charge them to do. If it's like a math joint, nah. This is where there's some things like you can have people like put a picture of your work. Hmm. Hmm. Trying to figure out what it is that I'm looking for to like have that view. What viewer feeling, thought, action, student. How can I make a person feel like a student? I could feel like a teacher doesn't mean they feel like a student. Make them study. If people are always studying anyway. People are always studying me regardless. What am I wearing? Saying, doing. People are always studying me anyway. What is it I'm trying to figure out here? If I had a video like that, maybe it's more so of the actual presentation, right? More so the presentation of the content, so that the structure of it, the structure of it, the video is structured. But the order, like, but having the freedom of that, of having no structure. People don't necessarily know what's going on. So I could simply have an agenda at least. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. You know. Welcome to class. What is this thing I used to tell people? Like those are like we're having an agenda. Um, see, these are my notes from earlier. That's the math we was doing earlier. How to divide a smaller number by a bigger number. That's definitely I could definitely do that again. To give some another example, better ones. But okay, like with the agenda, it's some either whether it's a feeling of relief or completion. Like okay, this was say we're going to cover this, this, and this. And so as students in class, I had one professor who would put a check mark. All right, we did this. Check. We did this. Check. So it's like you kind of knew where how far you progressed and where you were going. Because even at a certain time, like, man, we ain't get here, we ain't get here, we ain't get here. We know we ain't there. The class ain't nowhere near open. But some people just need to see that. They like to know that. Um, I think that's well, I did that one thing. Um, yeah, so I think just personally, I just probably need to work on like presentation, not presentation preparation. Of going through and say like, okay, I know I'm gonna say this, this, and this, and this, because that's what just messed me up just now. I didn't. There were certain things I didn't know I was gonna talk about or say. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Brief intermission. Okay. Mm, topic wise, as far as like, do we want to always have those? Like those are always present. Is it math, history, science, and. I'll write down some of the ones. Oh man. All right, the timer's still going. I'm assuming it's still working. Yeah, stuff's still up there, so okay. Topics. Math. Now that's one thing I the other one I think was the least decent because but math, the science one was a little iffy, ish kind of sort of. I think I did the physics topic or whatever. Math, science. Um, I don't know how else I can make it like super interactive though. Math, science, history. Now, the science one was a little bit iffy right now because at least as we're finding what you call it. Math is I feel like is pretty decent. The history one is just like, well, this is something that happened in history, and math, science, history. What's the four main? Oh, English. Now the other day I talked about foreign language. Um, foreign language. Um, I may even like if it's worth it, like try to like I'll work out or something, do some push-ups or sit-ups or whatever. It can just be small, just you know. Um, so it's that physical PE. What's the E stand for? Physical. What does the E stand for? In PE, physical. Right now we're gonna say physical trainer. PT. I forget what physical exercise. Yeah, right. What are the topics? What are the topics? Or, like cooking class. See, now that's gonna make it a whatchamacallit though. That would make it entirely, because like today I had French toast. That would be a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother. Cause I was about to say like things that people like don't have or wish they did have, or man, like if I had to learn about taxes, people really want to like learn about that. That could be something decent, but that's just going to just math. Taxes. They also like they used to have like wood shop. They don't have wood shop and stuff. Wood shop class. What other? They used to have wood shop. Building something that would be cool. But I can still go on art. Oh, I have to put art. What are we gonna do for art today? What are we gonna do for art? I'm trying to think. Is there any other? Math, science, history, English, foreign language, physical training, and art. Business concepts. Something like business concepts would just go into math. Business concept was going to math, physical training, exercise, art. Let's have a class like marketing. Like you have marketing. Like that's something that's like a mixture of like English. Like marketing is just English, because it's a reading and writing and this presentation of matter, like type of thing. So English could be marketing, like when that topic comes up. Education. I was like exercise. Yo, PE. Oh, the other part of PE was health. Yeah, PE and health. How important was health? Do you remember health class? All they remember from health class is sex education. Oh, we got my attention now. Yeah, let's pay attention, y'all. Pay attention now. Driver's ed. Nice. Driver's ed. But that happened like once. Is once you get your license, you don't get it at that time. Oh, but however, that is information to just have on the channel. What is this sign? Funny story. It's not really that funny, but everybody's what you call it. But like when you go to take your driver's license test, the first part of it, there are 10 signs, 10 road signs. They're gonna be random. But you gotta get all 10 signs correct, and then it's gonna move into the general knowledge part. I messed up on the signs, bro. Bro. And when I sit there and think about it, because somebody looked at me and was like, bro, do you even know what sign that's even called that? Anything like that? I was like, when I sat there and thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. You know what sign? It's like that. Do you know what sign I messed up on? I messed up on school crossing. That's one of the most common ones. You would have thought it was one of those easiest ones. I messed up on school crossing. I chose business district. I was like, oh, there's a lady that like has or a man with a purse or something. Not a purse, suitcase. I was like, oh, there's a person with a suitcase walking across the street. This is business district. Bro, that shit was school crossing, bro. Yeah, I ain't passed my driver's license test the first time. Bro. I ain't. Somebody looked at me. I think I told somebody that was like, Do you like? There's like, do you know any sign? Have you ever seen a sign for business district? Ever? I was like, now that you think about it, not now that you said that, you're right. Should that have been a thing to fault me on? If you don't know the school crossing sign, well, that means you need to go. You need to be watching out for something. They got they got the mud signs. They're like careful, kids at play. That's a sign. Has more words on it. So yeah. To have a video that has each one of these, it's not difficult. I think the only thing I kind of sort of wanted to clean up was the science part. A big part of science is experiments. Right? This is a science experiment. No, and like like some things, like some experiments can be uh, done within that like the class period, but sometimes an experiment needs to be taken. Like if you're growing a plant, the plant not gonna grow that one day, and then if you switch up how often you're watering the plant or where it's at position wise to receive this much light, sometimes they'll tell you like when you get a plant, um, the bitches. Okay, so all right, I just yeah, I didn't. My rationale might have been something I don't know, but I gotta think. What's the oh science? It's like I was like yeah, I said. Oh, when you get a plant, sometimes they will say you probably need to put the plant in this part of your house so that it receives like a certain type of light. Like, does the sun set in the east or the west? And does it rise in the east or the west? There's no pictures on it though. It says business. That's what shit. Uh, so, and the difference in sunlight. So, having a plant, if you have and so some people don't have control over that, where they have a window at in their house. So, but if they put the plant in this window, the plant might receive sunlight in the morning, but not in the daytime and towards the evening. But the sunlight is not as harsh or as strong or potent in the morning. But some plants don't need; they just need a little bit of. They got it. Some plants need stronger sunlight, so they need to be in a window or in a place where it's like the towards that high noon or that in the later evening. Um, and then some plants need direct sunlight. They need to be outside. So sometimes when you get a plant, it'll tell you like, yo, you probably need to put it in a place that has this type of lighting. Was it the bromeliad? I ain't figured that one out. The bromeliad, that joint, I don't know if it just didn't. It barely need like I think it was something about like there was one plant and it just because like the tropical thing, it was like this plant never really gets a lot of sunlight. Like usually in the whatchamacallit, because of the trees and all this and the third, it'll barely get any type of sunlight. And so it's whatchamacallit. Like that just be a whole thing. I'm not sure exactly what I'm exactly trying to do with this. I'm okay with it. Oh, the philosophy and rhetoric was another one. But then another part of it is it doesn't need to all be in one video because the person's like, man, yeah, like, but it's there for that type of thing. I don't know. All in one just makes it just like okay, everything is there. And the other one, philosophy, rhetoric, philosophy. I use matches. I ain't use this one. This one gonna be 1220. 12:20. Questo è soggetto 1220. 1000 is 1000. Due is 2. Cento is 100. 20 is 20. Philosophy. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's the same or not. Because the other part is, with the chapters in the video, I was about to write content creation. We have a content creator class. How to do this, how to do that, how to edit certain things. Oh, you know what happened the other day? Somebody was like, it's the solving a problem people didn't even know they needed, right? Or had. The person, there's like people who have these videos and it was a pink screen. It was a yellow screen. They have a 3-hour video of a pink screen or yellow, whatever. And 500,000 views. But it was how some people like projected it and needed it either like almost as a screensaver type of thing. No sound, mind you. It was, they just needed to have something up. No music. It was like, so it's up that vibe and like the lo-fi stuff, lo-fi, whatever. But there's no sound, no music. And there were like a couple instances people was like, I forget all of the other uses for it, but people used it on they needed like this backdrop type of thing to like save space or time. Like they were projected onto a wall or something. I forget what it was though. I forget their reasons. And so, because I think what prompted the conversation though, when somebody put this up there was, Shorty was like, she should have, like however many years ago, made the fireplace video. Right? So the fireplace video, like matter of fact, I think right now, if you type fireplace ASMR, it's a live stream, it's a live whatever that's always going of just as repetitive, just the fire noise crackling in that visual. And it's just always going. Right? So I don't even know how you do that. Oh no, never mind. If you live stream, YouTube is only gonna save, it's supposed to be 12 hours. Like the longest live stream you can have that will actually be saved is 12 hours. But when you close it, it's only gonna save like 11 hours and however many minutes. It would be close to 12, but it won't be exactly 12. Like, so you could stream for 24 hours, but if you stream for 24 hours, the first 12 are gonna not be saved. Only the last 12. So I think somebody said that if they would have did that though, if they would have made a video, however long, of a fireplace, they'd be rich. Rich right now. So it's one of those of thinking different ways of this and that. I need to go back to that. I need to go back to like what were people using that for? You know. People using the whatchamacallit for just background noise, white static noise, those type of things. Those people having that type of video that's just generating these views for people just letting this video play for however long. Those easy, low effort type of videos. But that's another reason that's another reason why they're pushing the monetization hours up to 8,000. If we were doing simple stuff like that don't require. But I actually think with the fireplace thing, I think a lot of people did try to do that or something like that, and then I think they did. I think they already got it where it's like stuff like that is not, the watch hours from that are not like usable or whatever. Like if it's stuff like that, I forget how they actually phrase it. I forgot how they actually phrase it. That could be a whole thing. Content creator class. Teach people how to edit certain stuff. The one shorty, she didn't know how to do a voiceover. I was like, a voiceover? And I was like, that's one of the whatchamacallits, man. That's one of the simplest things you could do. You don't know how to do a voiceover? Like, now, another thing is, well, I can get my iPad. Or, so this is just me sitting here talking, right? Stuff like that. Like this phone cannot screen record, right? But another way around that, what I could potentially try to do something is like take screenshots. Click this, click that, click this, click that. What kind of teach a person how to edit and try to do? On what platform? Either editing within the app or outside the app. Yeah, stuff like that. And give like examples. I don't know. Yeah, so much stuff with the content creator stuff. Me. Me. There's a picture of me. What's that? The notebook. Put that there. I took 2 pictures a day of some people and put them on the shirt today. I said I could put you on the shirt today. Did that. I did it up easily. Appreciate that. Now I can do how I own control. Nope. I got a video. All I do is doom, 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 doom. That's it. Playing a card is not that difficult though. It's relatively easier than other whatchamacallits, because you don't have to learn how to read like musical notes. For a guitar, it literally have the strings. You might need to know the melody or beat of the song you're trying to play, but if you're trying to learn how to play a song on guitar, it tell you basically which string you need to boom, like da 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 boom, type of jump. They give you that. Oh, that's a common weed. That's one of the first things you learn and trying to learn guitar. Doom, doom, doom. I forget the actual drum. Because then you can switch it up. Doom, 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 doom. And that's just plucking those same twice. Well, one thing with that is learning and practicing of not looking at the guitar and then doing it. That's just like a step forward. Like you can sit there. I can look at the guitar and go doom, 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 doom. But it's when you first learn it, you're looking at it. You're looking at the guitar. And then it's another thing would be like, well, I'm not looking at it. I still know which string that I'm and where my hand placement is. Yeah, totally. I mean, go to the pawn shop. Yeah, go to a pawn shop. Pawn shops always have guitars. They don't have some. I don't have my first one no more. That's when they probably give me the other one. The other one I got was like $60. My second, I think I have three guitars right now. My second one was like $60, and you're gonna need the amp, and then from there go to the university YouTube. Well, I mean, you need an amp if you get electrical guitar. Acoustic, no. You gotta go bass guitar. But there's literally a guy, and there's multiple people, but there's literally a guy who kind of like has a university YouTube. He has a like, this is how you start. You want to start with this. I'm breaking stuff down and go from there. I think picks are cool, but they're a little bit. I think it's a little bit more difficult. The bass guitar, yeah, yeah. My former neighbor teacher played bass guitar for fun. I'm brought it in. I'm playing it. Oh, cool. That was cool. But yeah, that's the only thing I'd probably say. You can go to a pawn shop, and this is like you just want to try it out just because. Go to the pawn shop, get a cheap guitar, but also get an amp. Otherwise, you're not gonna play an electric guitar. And an amp you can get for like, I think I got my portable amp for like, I'm gonna say 20, because it might have been less than that, but an amp regardless. Man, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. Yeah, I think my goal, oh, tomorrow. Um, tomorrow, tomorrow. I ain't watched a movie in a minute. I ain't watched a movie. I was so, man. Somebody today told me that, or they told me a book. I forgot the book. I forgot the book. No, that the code. The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, or something like that. The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. I think. I think it was an old book. I remember an Indian guy or something. That was pretty cool. That was another thing, like that I just thought was like cool. Like so today, if you see if you see the video today, I think 12:13 to 12:16. There's a part like I get out. You might be able to hear a voice. I didn't go back and watch the video, but you probably won't hear everything she was in there talking about. But like she pulled up and she gave me food. But one thing she said was like, I gotta be part of it. She said, I don't know you. She said, I feel like I gotta be part of the story. That was hot. She don't know that, but that was she was like, I don't know your story and this and that, boom, boom, boom. But she was like, she gave me food and she was like, I feel like I gotta be part of the story. That's hot to me. But as much as I document and I talk about when I talk about it, and I try not to like really mention the person's like actual name or whatever. Beautiful people, beautiful people. What? She's like, I gotta be like, so like, I think that's pretty cool. I'm trying to figure out how to even say this part, but like, you know, people who are mentioned in a story, people who are mentioned in the story, people who are not. Like in the Bible, Martha is mentioned. Martha, Martha, Martha is mentioned. This is good or bad. It's up for interpretation. I feel like I gotta be mentioned in the story. You want me to tell them your name? You want me to? Well, I'll talk about it cryptically descriptively. You don't want to be remembered? Okay. I won't say your name in the story. And there's one lady. She was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna whatchamacallit, and I ain't gonna edit it or nothing." I was like, "What?" Like with the way I go about this year, is that I think I think my 10th book, no editing would be crazy. Like the things and people I mentioned or talked about, that would be crazy. But I think I would publish it and just have it just for me. That's the easiest way. I would publish my 10th book. I have one copy for me. I'd probably go back. I would do the whole. That would make it easier for me, and especially if I adopt that mentality as far as like, because the way I do certain stuff right now is like main characters versus everybody else. Some people they just ain't worth mentioning. 5 years from now, right? You ain't gonna that person, that conversation, that whatever. Don't mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. So, but I think like it'll be easier because I basically what I was kind of sort of thinking that is like, oh man, like if I publish it like this, people get to read like what I thought about them, what I said about them. You know what I'm saying? My perspective of like we had this conversation, but this is what I took from it, you know, or how I perceived this and third one, and and the things I'm doing and how I'm going to and third. But one thing I told, well, I was like, well, okay, maybe I'll make a copy of it and uh, boom, 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 make a copy of it, and then go back and edit it and put like change up how I would want to like talk about it and feel so I can feel comfortable if somebody was to get the book, reading the book. So that's one. But going back through a whole year, this and third, and like, okay, I need to take this out and say it like this, take this out and say it like this, switch this up, switch that up. And we kind of started doing stuff already. I give people nicknames. I call this person this, I call this person that. Um, that was cool. I'm not how we looking at. I can't go out. But just having my present album, I can still do it though. I can still do it. Just go through in December and just go through all the Johnson and then publish it. I could definitely add that. And that's literally just even like having a side by side. You know, they got you can just side by side. This one would take. This one would say, and this one would do this. It's really cool. I think it's kind of sort of cool, man. That I have done that this year. I have done that this year. So if I go to that notes, if I go to my 10th book, let me just say it like that. If I go to my 10th book, I could tell you what I ate every day. Literally this year, I can tell you what I ate every day this year. Just because I mentioned that in each one. Uh, I'll be able to tell you where I was at, almost down to the hour. I'm journaling, talking about my days. Went here, had to do this, went here, all this stuff. I'm journaling there. It's a daily journal. But I do like, okay, I was writing at this time. I was here at this time. Almost down to the what's it called? I could tell you where I was at every day this year. I'm like, okay, this day of the year I was over here doing this. I know the vibe and essence of every day. Cause like even with this, it was originally okay. I got a video for everyone, and then it moved towards because like season two, and then third, I got a video for everyone, but I don't necessarily. I didn't know how many I had. This year, the thought process from the video earlier when I thought about it, I would call it the playlist. I would call it Siguro Soggetto because that's also like the playlist. And that would just make it easier as far as like the playlist serving as like the audiobook type of thing. So I wouldn't have to redo an audiobook. But if I was after publishing it, I would just order it and then just go back through and kind of sort of read it. And so the 10th book could just be the audiobook. Where I don't have to edit it. No, to edit it, I can just go through and talk about it the same way I have already been doing. So that's why I don't even got to do it. But to actually have it in hand and go through and read through the year, how was the year and things I did. You know, because me designing might not necessarily be particularly important. Uh, I know, like, so basically, like, as I kept going through with it, the greatest playlist. I have over 140 playlists. I think I have 151 or something like that. What was the other one? Oh, like, it went from having a video for everyone, and then it was like, well, I know how many. Last year, it turned into, I know how many I have. Yeah. But this year, it was I have a playlist for so I know I have a playlist because the last everything just goes in cigar talk regardless, but it was also like now I got a playlist just for 2026. How many I had in for everyone I had in 2026. I was on the seasons. Yeah, I know I ain't doing that in a minute. got like what 20? How many seasons? Well, next season would be next time I get a piece of merch or something. But then that's why it was redrawing the logo and stuff this year. But I designed a cool shirt today. But but I think the other part was just like, man, with resources, I'm just like, okay, how could I get this or that? I tried going through my website one time. It's just too. I was like, man, so many things, so many pages. I'm like, dang, I'm only on this page or this page. That would take a while. I have to do that from iPad or something. That would take days to do too. That takes a long time to go through my entire website. But that's good though, in the sense of the person just can't. They just can't get to the whole website in this and that third, so they gotta break down. They gotta like just like a museum. That's why it's called a museum, a digital museum, fashion blog, all of that. That don't make me laugh. That was the last time. So, and then that'd be cool too. If somebody wants to like, I want to be a part of your story. I want to be a part of your story. Just like they also talk about what was Jesus doing between 12 and 28. All you get is like, well, when he was young, there was this, and the middle part just blank, and then now, and then there's the 30s, and the ending part of it. Uh-huh. YouTube didn't exist. Well, yeah, well, YouTube came out in like 2004. YouTube came out in 2004. Yeah. I know I have enough for the morning. Now, another cool thing the lady said today, she was like, whatever it is about what you're doing right now, where you're at, energetically, just whatchamacallit. Um, you know, and so, I don't know, man. Like, tomorrow, I have enough to get 2 more in the morning. Like, and that's it. Like, just get those 2 more in the morning. Food is okay, breakfast wise, and I think, I kept the receipts because it was the last time somebody gave me a gift card. I kept track of. I kept every receipt. Did I do that today? Did I not get a receipt? Oh, I think they all in here. I think they all in here. That's one. Okay. Yeah, it says balance. Yeah. So, what do I want to eat in the morning? And get to something to eat in the morning. What to eat? Should it be something that I could easily whatchamacallit? Cause I was thinking about the cereal with him. I had to get a bowl, spoon, milk. Had French toast. Use my free will. Have pizza for breakfast. Yeah, so get one of them. But I think them pizzas was still like the microwave pizza. But I mean they had the frozen joints, but I think them drinks was still like $6, $7. But 6, 7, 6, 7. I don't know about that. I don't know. But get something to eat in the morning. That'll be what you'll find. So that's at least two. I don't know about the whole school thing. We revisit that, touch on that. I don't know. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, the math lesson. Could be. You know what I'm saying? We could definitely use that. Whatever I get, how much does that cost? How much was the tax on it? You know, something like that. That could be like a little math lesson. There was this much tax on this. Um, you know, cooking it. Where did I cook it at? It's fine. If I have to cook it at all, or just get a can. So, I don't know. I don't know. Well, the morning is the morning. Tomorrow has its own worries. I have to put this away. Yeah, so I mean, for the way I kind of like what you call it, it'll be I'll at least have something in the morning. I have content wise, at least two videos, minimum two, minimum two. Yeah, my arm did pretty decent. I was a little worried because it was like all the dirt that was around it, and I didn't want to wipe the dirt. I didn't want to wipe the dirt all the way off because I didn't want it to like wipe the dirt into the wound. And then I finally was able to get to like run some water over it, and so that I felt better and comfortable doing that. I at least rinsed it, but towards the end of the day, or the middle of the day, I didn't have to feel it as much. I was like, oh, okay, it's better. I had to go look. I was like, it had to be right here. There was a dent like in the ground, kind of. So I was like, that must be where my elbow was. I'm like, yeah, this part slippery right here. I must have fell right here. I I I feel it a little bit more now just because I'm whatchamacallit. Um, but that jump, bro. That jump, man. You know, some stuff, like I got, you can't tell. Uh, but this jump right here, that's like the ultimate jank, bro. That one, oh, you can't really tell. Can't really tell. Right there. That one's like the ultimate jump. That's not going anywhere. The stories that your body then has. So there's a story behind that. Most people have something with their knees. I don't know if that's from a bike, and it's not even really noticeable. Most people have something with their knees. So think you scrape your knee on a bike. Mm. Mm. It's a Saturday. Gotta move around. Gotta walk. Where to go? Mm. I don't have to think about food or content for the morning part. It'll be I'll see about the rest of it. Um, you know, it was alright. Why am I thinking I'm gonna have to walk anywhere else? Mm, we got a couple lighters this week. That'd be cool. The other joint is it didn't come through. Uh, I see it says, what do you think about that scripture? The comment before it says the greatest playlist. So it must have. This is on top messages, not all messages, but it still didn't come through. You know, it still don't show up. Oh man. Okay, hold up, because I know I see this other thing, and I'm like, whoa. I'm glad I didn't see that. Is there anything else? At least I know that flag. Maybe. This comment made no sense. Yeah, I don't know what that person was trying to say. John 21:25. I don't know what it's supposed to. I don't know what 21:25 is. I could probably look for that. And then it's um, like how often, like it comes up and to talk about scripture and religious texts. Like how often, like today I met a youth pastor, you know. If it wasn't earlier this week, it was last week. I met a street pastor. Um, one of my pastors looked at me and said, you're gonna have your own church one day, type of thing. Like I met a person who read the Bible. I met them while they were reading the Bible from cover to cover, cover to cover. And I used to have them, and they used to just read me. They'll read me a scripture every day. They'll send me, all right, hey, I got a scripture. Here's a scripture for today. Man, it's one of the, it's not that it, like even my other coworker, she was like, next time I see him, I'm gonna give you a Bible. Like I've been gifted Bibles. I've been gifted Bibles. Other one, like the lady there says, "Are you religious or spiritual?" And the thinking of that, and man, just how much that comes up, and not shying away from it, but if I'm just saying chat, like I'm like, man, yeah, I'd be like, man, I don't know, just talk about it. And that is one thing that was like, you got to study your fascinations and your repulsions. Like, why are you repulsed by this? I think my biggest one is like I was saying earlier, in having a conversation with someone and taking the stance of, I totally don't mind, like, the term is devil's advocate. Whenever somebody wants to talk about like religious stuff, I totally would take the standpoint of refuting certain things, or okay, good example, Genesis. In Genesis, this is where I made a video for it, but in Genesis it says sons of God. And it's so, like, someone were like, yo, it's in here. Every word is intentional. Everyone means anything. Every word is intentional. So I'm taking it. It's literal. It's true. Like some people will read the Bible just like that. The term for the earlier today was Bible thumper. Some people like it's literally word for word. This is it. This is the Bible, right? So I'd be like, fine. In Genesis, it says sons, S-O-N-S. It's plural. But you also will then say that there is only one Son of God. So what, how, and then, oh, well, some things are figurative and some things are literal. It don't say that. It don't tell you when it's figurative or literal. It don't say that. So let's go back with what you said. You said everything. So why does it say sons, plural, and then but then there's only one? And then it was like, oh, I think the term in the Bible is Nephilim. And so I'm like, okay, fine. What does it say happened? It says these sons of God came down here and did what? This is one of those things I really be trying to and know whatchamacallit. And so it's like, this is where I'm like, all right, well, you're gonna try whatchamacallit, but what I'm sitting here saying, it really do make sense to me at least. But and I'm gonna talk just a little bit straight. Basically, it says these sons of God came down and had sex with the women. And then you get this lineage of, the tall, the Nephilim and stuff like that. Like, and it says that. It says that, and it's mentioned, right? It said that they came down here and had sex with the woman, whichever woman they wanted. Like I said, Zeus is mentioned in the Bible. So it's like, I think it's in Acts. And so it's like, it's certain things that I was like, yo, if you dig it of the whole alien thing, and interpreting the Bible in the sense of like, yeah, aliens can't. This was a time when aliens were here, and this and the third, and like, so you got these beings, or you have these aliens who have way more knowledge and power, and doing and saying certain stuff, and affecting humanity in such a way. It makes a lot of sense then. It makes a lot of sense then, you know. For however you want to watch it, if you take it in the sense of aliens came down and had relations with humans, and it kind of sort of makes sense. And because somebody said something about like, what makes you think that they can reproduce? And I remember somebody had said something about what makes you think that they can reproduce and this and that third. Great concept, right? I'll try to look this up. No guarantees on that. I'll try to look those up. But great concept, right? Another conspiracy thing is there's two things I'm mentioning. One, there are like certain places that people go missing. I think Yellowstone is one of them. And this and that third. There's stories and other places where it's like people getting dragged into the water, you know what I'm saying, or go missing by the water. And remember that they gave up on studying the ocean, and they gave up on studying the sky. They gave up on it, right? So the other, like, in conspiracy wise, of like when I mention, like, when I bring it back to German engineering, there was this one thing I read about like each of the countries having these, what's it called, but they had to give up the humans. And so even if you take it kind of sort of like, okay, if you think that they can't reproduce, like, well, what methods of reproduction do you think that they have? How are they able to generate more beings or anything like that? And this is one of those. So even if you have to take it of like a virgin birth, then this is how they made certain stuff happen. Like, I think there's that one story. It's just like, yeah, you're gonna have a kid at this time, and like how they can either do or make certain stuff, and like how do they go about it? Not really sure. There's certain other books I still want to read because it's like even when they talk about like Moses, the last one I heard like with Moses and like those commandments and whatnot, it's like those commandments are just a few, but they come from I think like the Book of the Dead, or there's other stories that predate the Bible that are written on a stone tablet. These commandments or these rules or ways of living life are written on a tablet, or like in the Book of the Dead. Like Book of the Dead does reference that you can see like parallels of like the laws or whatever. Because I think one of the come on. One of the things about again, well, and I don't know everything about the whole Egyptian stuff, but again, like their concept of an afterlife and eternal life, and like they don't really think that you do. It's or whatever, just moving along a path type of thing. But one of the things was that when you get there, remember, keep your heart as light as a feather, like the Libra scales. Your heart will be weighed on the scale against, you know what I'm saying? Uh, but it was like you should be able to say like, "Oh, I have not done this. I have not done that. I have not done this. I have not done that." Like, so that's where it comes the thou shall not do this and thou shall not do that. And but it comes from Egypt. It comes from Egypt though, or and even like somehow some stuff just they come from like these older parts, and so I think somebody was even like just yeah, like it's a collection of older, stories, and they just take parts and then just remix and just a thing. Like I was happy that my pastor knew about the council. Then I think he said Nicene Council, NICE. It's not nice, Nicene or something like that. There was a council. That's when the Bible was like. I think Constantine got all these people together and was like, y'all need to like put this together and write this and do this. And so like that's where the whole concept and all of this stuff came from. Like even Christ, I think one of the etymology of the derivation of it comes from the Greek or Roman Christos, which means anointed one. And so that's why some people say like, again, Jesus is the only figure in history whose existence is questioned. But like Emotep, um, other people that like there are certain people figures who have like they talk about like the ascended masters. They talk about like people who are just of this essence of vibe or frequency, whatever. That's just a little that's higher or what more whatever in relation to like the people around them. So like what was cool was this one person was like, there's a very good chance that this Jesus figure like was like super smart or whatever, and that like the disciples, because like mind you, the disciples often will say, "What did you mean by this?" And so like he just being of that essence and vibe where the people around him they just didn't understand him. You know what I'm saying? They didn't understand him, what he was saying, what he was doing. And it's just like we're just gonna follow and document what he's doing, what he has going on, like, and they didn't understand. Because there's plenty of stories of them asking him, "What did you mean by this when you had said this, or when you did this? How'd you go about doing this, or how'd you go about doing that?" Like him just being that, just above, and a lot of the times with the Pharisees or this and that third, them asking him certain questions and they couldn't refute what he said or go against it, but then it was just like, oh, they just like They just couldn't believe that this person was smarter than them. And as I it's like the things about that with intelligence and smartness, like people really like their behavior becomes different when they're around someone who's smarter than them that they don't understand. Um, and like that's a big and common theme within that. Uh, Jesus constantly like if you like reading comprehension, he's really not trying to be around people. A lot of the times, I'm about to go over here. Like he be trying to get away. When he like, man, put the boat in the middle of the water. He don't be trying to be around people. A lot of times he ain't trying to be around. He don't want to talk. He don't want to have to actually deal with people for real, for real. Reading comprehension. Put me in the middle of the water. Get on the boat. We in the middle of the water. It's about to be a whole bunch of people trying to be around me, trying to touch me. The one giant walking through the crowd. Who touched me? Then one lady was just like, I just want to touch the robe. Who touched me? The disciples was like, you worried about who touched you? Yes, who just touched me? Put their hands on me. Somebody just grabbed my. You care about that right now? We got. Yes. He don't be trying to be around. He be trying to be ducked off, and he be trying to tell people like, y'all is. I don't like how, like, cause in like the things of studying and knowing, a lot of times the Pharisees will ask him a question. He'll answer the question. They'll be like, and they'll just leave. And they supposed to be the ones that people go to for whatever, for advice, for wisdom, how to do this, how to do that. And it was they go over and ask him about this and the third, and he give a different answer from what they was even saying. And so like there's another thing. So like that's like conceptually that's another thing with just like uh in general of whatever people are believing at that time. And he just like and a lot of it is trying to figure out, well, okay, well, what can I say to get out this situation? And a lot of times, Jesus is saying, I don't believe in what you believe in. But just to get out of not having any conflict with you, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to tell this little story about this and that third. But this is basically me telling you, I don't believe in what you believe in. And so like conceptually, like now, right? If you was to meet somebody that can say like, yeah, I don't believe in what y'all believe in. Yeah, there's some truth to this and there's some truth to that, but I just I don't believe in what y'all believe in. What was cool, another pastor that I had met told me about like I think it's called the LXX or something like that. Like there's another book that people used to study and used to like this and third. This is why like the like certain stuff is just like this is the importance of the Library of Alexandria. You this is why sometimes I at least be like, you know how many libraries we have now? Exactly. But this one was so important. The Library of Alexandria was so important that it's a moment in time and a moment in history that people have to learn or know or talk about. When they talk about like information and knowledge just being gone and lost, some people think that some stuff was saved, but it's at the Vatican, and for whatever reason, the Vatican's not like you cannot. I think, and I could be totally wrong about it. I don't know too much about the Vatican, but like, I don't you can't just walk up in there. You can't just walk up in there. You can't just be like, it's almost like on Avatar, The Last Airbender, they have that library episode with the owl, but I forget how they even found it, and it has something to do with Toph, but at one point the owl is like, duh, and the owl sinks the whole library. It's still there, but the owl just sinks the whole thing and chases them out. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what time. We have a 3-hour stream. Haven't had a 3-hour stream in a while. I couldn't tell you the last time. Oh